we are live.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Elephant in the Room podcast. It has been a minute since we've been here. We've missed you guys, that's for darn sure. And we are super excited to be live streaming tonight with Darcy Weir. And we're going to talk all about Puerto Rican UFOs or UFOs over Puerto Rico. And we had the privilege of watching his documentary, his most recent documentary, and it was super mind blowing. And we just can't wait to dig into all the details with him tonight. So, so it's been a minute since we've been on here, and it's just been a crazy couple of months. At the end of August, we took some time off so that I could get my kids transitioned back into school. And then Chris was slammed with COVID for like 3 weeks. And then even more health issues cropped up with Chris. So Chris, why don't you kind of explain what's been going on with you so everyone can
I'm totally grateful and happy to be back and doing the show. I missed it so much, and we had actually a really great summer planned, and we had several guests lined up, and I think it was my birthday that did me in the first time, because I went to a country concert and right before my birthday, and on my birthday I came down with COVID. So and it was a tough one. It was the first time I've had it, and it knocked me out for like 2.5 to 3 weeks. Mostly with just literally I slept the whole time, and then the brain fog was like unbelievable. So that was right. And it was funny because I had been doing so much better with things. So last semester I was like, oh, I'm going to pump up all my classes because I'm feeling good and I'm doing great. And I went to 4 classes, and then COVID hit. So I literally just had to drop out of that and back off. And then again, we were getting ready to get back and get settled. And I actually made a trip out to San Diego on the 21st, and went back to hopefully capture some footage from my old UAP sighting location. And I was going to meet with the landlords there and have a discussion about some potential investigations that might be coming up. And literally that night after we went to go look at we weren't going to meet till Sunday, but we went that night, hiked in the canyon and took some video. It was too cloudy to capture anything, but I ended up coming down with some new onset seizures. So that's been really scary for us. Totally out of my element. I'm from San Diego, so fortunately I'm a vet, and I had access to the VA healthcare system, and then ended up hospitalized at another hospital for several days. So I have been through some basically severe amnesia for about a solid week. I lost. So I'm just saying that because I do want you guys to be aware of my cognitive challenges, and bear with me if I stumble over words or, whatever things are popping up that are new. And I just want to be totally transparent with you guys, because that's just how I roll. I mean, I think it's all part of our experience on this planet. And, I think some of my experiences around this topic have been interesting and connecting. And then, you see other directions too, where you see, like, if I weren't thinking about new things and having new challenges for my brain, it could be, worse. So here we are. Anyway,
and just wanted in any comments to head off any comments. You did have a brain MRI that came back clear.
Yes.
So
yes, my brain MRI is clear. I don't have like a tumor or anything like that.
Right.
So it's something that's probably a little bit more long-term that we're looking at. And I have an amazing support system. My family's been amazing. I've been in healthcare for 30 years. My husband's in healthcare. He's been in healthcare for about 20 years, more on the supply side. My son's in healthcare. My daughter's in healthcare. My daughter-in-law's in healthcare. My brother's in healthcare. So this is something we're very familiar with, and we know how the system works. And I feel like I have the most amazing support team to help back me up. So we're going to move forward and you know, just be grateful for like every day that we have. And it's just a reminder. And on that note, I think we should just put out a word of just, you know, put our thoughts and prayers for what's going on in Florida. Yeah. You know, it's really just some scary things that have been happening for families and moving out of their comfort zone and trying to get safe. So just be thinking about them over the next coming days. I think that's what we can do for each other in this community. So start lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down. So anyway, Darcy, it is so good to have you back on the show. Everybody, if you haven't looked, we had Darcy and Andy on, I think it was like 7 months ago, with your first film that you came out with about USOs. And Ariel actually couldn't make it that night. She had a challenge, so she hadn't met him yet. And then funny enough, I did actually meet Darcy in person at Contact in the Desert, which I forgot about. There you go with my cognitive issues. I did remember meeting you in our podcast and knowing you. Of course, I did. You're not forgetful, but yeah,
all good.
One of those
all good.
So anyway, I really thought this film was interesting. I'm going to let Ariel kick off with a couple of questions and kind of what you thought. And yeah, it was actually timely for me to see some of the things as well. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would just kind of give us the backstory of why Puerto Rico.
Well, I think a big reason why Puerto Rico was Andy Marcel. He is Puerto Rican, and right off the bat, when we first met in New York, and I, you know, in the last film, at the end of the film, I have a long interview with Andy, and he's talking about how he released the DHS UAP videos and all that stuff, and how like the Twitter community attacked him and yada yada yada. So we became friends after that interview, and we kept in touch, and I realized that this guy's like, he knows what he's talking about. You just heard the Canadian about there. He's you know, really well studied, and so when he started bringing up Puerto Rico, I was like, hey, I'm in. Like, let's figure out if there's a story to cover there. And he was like, you have to reach out to Jorge Martin. I've spoken to him in the past, but, you know, why don't you give it a shot, because he's hard to get a hold of. And I started speaking to this journalist, like this guy that's been covering the UAP UFO beat in Puerto Rico for like 4 decades.
wow.
And Jorge got back to me, and it just started snowballing from there. And we were figuring out like who we were going to interview and what cases we were going to cover. And there's so many cases in Puerto Rico that we really had to pick and choose, because I didn't have like 4 months to live out there. I had like 2 weeks max, you know? So that's really how it all began.
Wow, that's fascinating. What was it like just getting to pack up for 2 weeks and trek around somewhere so beautiful? I mean, of all the locations on Earth, it's like, yeah, let's go hunt UFOs in Puerto Rico, or the, you know, sunsets and oceans and beaches.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was like, get a good hat, get something to cover up my face, like sunscreen, make sure that I only step out once the sun is down, that type of thing. But for Andy, he was like doing like push-ups in the sun and like going on runs down the beach. And he's like, hey man, you got to come out. It's so nice out. And I'm like, it's cool, bro. I'll see you in a couple hours. But it, you know, packing up all my camera gear and all that stuff. You know, I'm used to that. And a lot of the planning took like 6 months to do. I think it was like 3 to 6 months because,
That's
you know, I'm kind
interesting.
of like, what's that?
No, that's interesting. Sorry to interrupt. I was curious, like what the coordination for a film like this looks like.
Yeah. So basically, the research and reaching out to potential candidates to be interviewed all the time before, you know. Some people like don't speak English, so that was going to be a hard one. Although the CBP agent who we interviewed at the very starting of the film, that's the guy who actually released the 2013 Aguadilla UAP footage. He didn't speak English, but I had Andy. So Andy was like the translator. He was the like kind of a funny story. I don't know if it's that funny. It's funny to me. But when I was in post editing the film, I have somebody in Mexico that helps me with a lot of my documentaries. So I'm like, oh, I'll just like throw this interview to them because it's in Spanish. They'll understand everything that's being said, right? And Puerto Rican Spanish is very different from, you know, I guess Mexican Spanish, or there's all kinds of Spanish, right? So it was ridiculous for me to think it would be all cool, but the guy that was doing like the subtitles originally, I had to like basically say, sorry, I can't do this anymore.
It doesn't work.
And Andy actually jumped in and helped me do the subtitles because this is his native tongue, right? So
That's great.
just little things like that. But you guys hear a high-pitched noise?
Ariel said she did too, so it might be that I'm gonna go ahead and grab my headphones.
No, it's okay. One sec. Let me just double check if it's my audio. How's that sound?
That's better.
Is it better?
Do you hear yourself, though? Do you hear yourself as like an echo?
Testing. No.
I don't.
Okay, cool. I just thought I was doing something really cool with the audio here, but it turned out to fuck everything up. If you want, I can start over.
No. We're
No.
Yeah, you're cool? Okay.
We're
sorry.
good. We're good. We roll with the punches.
My bad.
No. I thought it was my feedback on my headphones because my mic's not working tonight either. So of course, I'm telling you, sometimes the things. Do you ever experience that as a filmmaker? Do you experience challenges with capturing and telling the phenomenon story? Do you feel like there's a legitimate thing there?
Like interference from them or something?
Yeah. Or anyone?
No, probably just myself.
Okay, good.
Probably just myself when I do things like that, you know?
Okay.
I have not, I mean, I've had interviews where the mic wasn't even on. And, you know, I found out after the whole interview was done that I had to basically work with the audio off of the camera, which was crap. Right. So, yeah, little things like that.
Normal technical things, but not like, woo, like every time
No,
I do a live.
I haven't had any UFOs zap my equipment just yet.
Okay, good.
Well, now you've jinxed it. It's going to happen now.
I can't wait. I just turn the camera to it.
Yeah,
and
you'll be ready. You'll be ready.
Hey.
No.
Hey, I have some of those. It is some of my favorite footage. I have this one shot where my husband and I, you can hear us like looking up at the UAP, describing it. He's looking through the binoculars. And then I have my gimbal over here, and you can see like the camera's facing the gimbal. And as soon as we see something like spectacular, I don't know, it did something, and we go, oh my God, did you see that? The gimbal flips, and then the gimbal captured the object in weird motion because it's obviously flipping as it's doing it. But yeah, so like that, you know, I'm like, yeah, go for it. I mean, maybe I shouldn't risk it like I've been risking it, but it's so
Gimbals suck.
interesting.
I don't like gimbals too much.
Yeah.
I shot a bunch of film or video on like using a little steady gimbal thing.
Yeah.
And it was flipping all the time and doing things like mind of its own type
That's
thing.
what I'm
So
saying.
I was just like, man, I'm never using this thing again.
Yeah.
It's like ruining my shots. But yeah.
Yep. That's
Some people love them. Some people know how to use them.
Yeah, not me. What when you guys went out there, the gentleman, so you met with the journalist and he gave you contact to the DHS guy, right?
Yeah, so Jorge Martin is really integral to this too, right? Like
Okay.
this guy has all the Puerto Rican contacts. He lives in Puerto Rico and has been covering all the strange stuff happening around the island for a long time. And so I was on calls with him regularly and emails, and we were like trying to sort things out. And then we like landed on the island and the CBP agent hadn't confirmed yet. But Jorge was like, he will do it. He will. And I'm like, well, we're like here. So can we get a like time? That would be great.
Yeah.
But so like we put the CBP interview at the starting of the doc, but that was actually, it was like the last interview we did. No, it was like the second last or third last interview we did before we jet. So I was really concerned we weren't going to get his testimony. But Jorge came through. He called us one day and was like, yeah, he's going to meet with you tonight. He's doing like double shifts because, you know, people work really hard in Puerto Rico and get paid very low pay. And yeah, he was super kind. He met with us at the airport where the UAP was recorded. And you know, Bob's your uncle. If maybe
the
you
one
haven't.
interesting thing about that particular interview was Andy did flat out ask him what made you want to leak the footage, and he doesn't really answer that question directly. Did you ever do you know what part I'm referencing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was saying that he knew that there was activity like this happening for a while around the island. I think that was part of his answer. And then he said also like the things that the fishermen were seeing, right?
Okay. So can you talk a little bit about some of that? Obviously we want people to watch the film, so don't give it all away. But like what are
whatever. It's all good.
So what are some of the things that, you know, that they're experiencing that made it so unique or intriguing?
Yeah, so the fishermen all around Puerto Rico have been seeing objects go into the ocean, come out of the ocean, and sometimes like lights and stuff moving around in the ocean. They know what it like the difference between a scuba diving group because, you know, it's their territory. They know what they usually see in the ocean. It's kind of like, I know some people would probably spit on me for saying this, but it's like a pilot knowing what to see in the sky. They spend so much time in the sky. A fisherman usually knows what's weird and what's not weird. And so I liked when this CBP agent was talking about that type of stuff. And certain things were like children running on the beach at night, actually on the beach right beside the airport. So the strange thing about that beach is that it's closed now. You can't even walk down to it anymore. Somebody like closed it off because they didn't want anybody going there. And fishermen for like a long time were saying that they were seeing things, lights at night, children running into and out of the ocean. and just like spooky stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. And so did they, like, how long has this been going? Is it like years and years, generations, or is there like a flap of time where it happened?
I think I can't say for sure that it's been like during a flap. I know that Puerto Rico, like every decade, has had anomalous activity. Usually flaps, I guess they do happen, at the beginning or maybe the end of a decade, but Puerto Rico it seems to constantly happen. And I guess we show some of that footage in the doc near this beginning where you see like a montage of all these Puerto Ricans talking about objects they're seeing in the sky. That footage is all like authentic UAP or UFO footage from like the 1980s, the 90s.
Oh, wow.
And then, Agua Dia was 2013. I know of one video that came in that area from 2009. It just seems to be happening every decade there. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's unreported that I'd love to hear about and see hit the public,
So tell me a little bit about the guy who analyzed the video, Mr.
Dave Falch.
Falch.
Yeah. So Dave Falch, he also is a friend of Andy's, and I don't know if the children glow, but maybe they did. Dave, he's basically a professional FLIR camera repair guy. He works for a company that repairs the systems that would be on the CBP plane that caught this footage, or helicopters, that are within the fleet of Customs and Border Patrol, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, a bunch of different sort of security or intelligence agencies that would use that type of camera, forward-looking infrared camera. And when I told him I was making this documentary, I reached out to him via Twitter, and, Twitter tends to connect us all these days. Mm-hmm. And I basically told him, like, look, I've seen some of your analysis of FLIR camera footage on your YouTube channel, which is just like, goes by the same name. It's Dave Falch. And he got back to me, and I said, like, can you do an analysis of the Agua Dia footage? What you think is anomalous about it, or if there is anything. And he did that. We included that in the doc. And then he also was kind enough to include his own story where he saw a UAP in a FLIR camera system, just like the one that was used to capture the Agua Dia UAP.
Uh-oh, Chris, you're muted.
We lost you, Chris.
Sorry, my dog was making noises over here. I thought it was really compelling, the way he described the motion, especially when it enters the water, and how it, doesn't lose acceleration.
Speed, or velocity. Yeah.
Velocity. Yeah. And then the way it's split apart. And just his reaction to that happening, and his facial kind of reaction really showed you how, like, almost alarmed he was by that actual mechanism or physics happening.
Yeah, and I think the skeptics or like debunkers' best explanation for what's happening in that footage is it's a balloon. But the problem is that the CBP guys observed it coming from the ocean, which the wind is actually blowing from the ocean inland. So that could make sense.
Mhm.
But the way it went around the top of the airport, over parking garages, all that stuff, and then went back to the ocean against the wind, it's not a balloon. But I know that, there's going to be some serious debunking of that footage in the future, and they're going to call it a bird. How that didn't show up as a bird with wings, because in this type of FLIR camera system, you should see wings fluttering, all that type of stuff. This thing did not have anything like that. It looked round. It the whole way. It kind of rotates a little bit, but it didn't like jostle or oscillate like a Mylar balloon would.
Right, like a balloon
If you saw a Mylar balloon moving in the wind, right? So, I'm just not convinced that this is a debunkable footage right now. Some people, I've spoken with Mark D'Antonio about the footage. He believes that it could be a balloon because when it goes over the beach and then over the water, if the object cools down really quickly to the same temperature as what the ocean is at, then it might screw up the system, the FLIR camera system, from capturing it properly. And that's why it looks like it duplicates or whatever. But this thing was seen going into the ocean and then duplicating and flying off into the ocean. So it wasn't like above the ocean. I don't think it's explainable.
It does seem like it was that there was just something very anomalous watching it, kind of like the jellyfish UFO footage of when you're kind of just looking at that, it just doesn't, and again, I don't know if that one has officially been debunked or not, but when you look at it, it just doesn't scream balloon. I mean, it seems like it's moving too evenly. And the same with that footage. It was very even keeled. And I've never seen a balloon move that evenly before. But I mean, I suppose on a very calm day, but like you said, against the wind, no.
I think the other thing, if you watch the footage right through, and we put time code in on the right, so you know exactly where it is in the full clip. If you go watch the original clip, you can even watch it on Andy's YouTube channel, which is NY UAP discussion. The object appears to go lower over the tarmac, over the runway, over the airport, and then it rises and goes over a parking garage, which is much higher in the sky. It goes over houses, over a whole neighborhood, over a highway, and then goes over some land and over the beach into the water. Typically, if a balloon is caught up in some kind of wind channel, it's not going to be elevating and descending like that. And the other thing is that people that were ground crew, which you can actually see in the footage, there's 3 men, I think, standing in front of a plane at one point. They're actually all the ground crew, the tower, the control tower, the pilot themselves could not observe this object with their very own eye.
Right.
And if it was a bird or a balloon, you would expect them to eventually, in that whole 4-minute recorded encounter, to have picked something up, but they didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting. Really interesting. So somebody has a question. Back to their glow question. They said, okay, maybe that was strange, but they're confused. How did the fishermen locals interpret these children or these things coming in and out of the ocean? Do they bring up their faith systems? Which I believe the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think the fishermen, I don't recall any faith system being brought up, Christian or anything like that.
Right.
But I know that when they mentioned it as children, this is late at night. The night fishing is, I guess, could be anywhere between like 9 to midnight, right? And they're reporting children running on the beach near an airport that's, there's no families or there's not supposed to be like that type of activity. They were just kind of recalling that it was like creepy, that it seemed something small, like a child, was running around the beach and going into the ocean and not coming back and that type of thing. So there was no recollection of like the children glowing, but they had seen lights in the ocean around that beach as well. And like just sort of anomalous things happening.
Right.
But I do know that like on the island, they are very Christian, I think Catholic, and it's taboo to talk about UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. So
really,
like one person that I was like maybe going to interview was trying to tell me that it was like all demons and like, all that type of stuff. And like, look, I mean, everybody, I respect their opinion, but he canceled with me once he realized that I was not going to be like portraying it as in that way in my coverage of this story or these stories. And, that's just the way it is. But that's the prevalent faith-based system there. And people don't talk about it as much, although a lot of people experience or see anomalous stuff. Not just UFOs, believe it or not. They see like things that they call like gargoyles in the rainforest area, or if their town backs into the forest, they've seen strange beings. And they've seen things like Bigfoot. They've seen these like pale-skinned beings like me, all kinds of weird stuff. So I don't know.
Well, that brings up the gentleman, and I feel bad I forgot the name, but the gentleman you interviewed, I thought he was really I'm pretty gullible, I guess, but I thought he was a really good witness. And I'm not, hopefully, but I just thought his story was so compelling and convincing. And it was so extraordinary. What was that like for you? And kind of tell me your thoughts on that part of the case.
Yeah. So that's Andres Maldonado. He's a commercial diver. So he's usually in the ocean for studying the wildlife and fish and the sort of ecosystem down there in the ocean, but also I think he's done some fishing and all kinds of stuff in that area. And he's had like a long history with like really strange phenomenon. So he's experienced UFOs. He's experienced a non-human intelligence that looks human, if that makes sense. This individual recollects meeting a guy named Amaron, and Amaron apparently was from another star system, kind of looked like somebody that was of Indian descent from Asia. And this guy basically interacted with Andres over an extended period of time, years. He said that, they're contacting him because they wanted him to get the word out. He spoke to us, so thank you, Andres. And they also were just kind of like warning of future events that could happen on the planet, like, war, death, disease, destruction, that type of thing. And the environment and, getting ruined and stuff like that from our own like
So,
activity, you know,
yeah.
because I guess like there is causality, you know, if you do something negative, it's probably going to affect your reality negatively. So, yeah, basically that's a really tight summation, but he had these interactions. His family was affected. I think his sister was in the hospital and got like healed. His baby was going to be born like prematurely and deformed and came out perfectly fine. He said these were all like interventions, and you know,
Yeah.
he
Crazy.
took some photos of UFOs. We showed a bit of that. He showed a picture of like one of these alien looking things that were like a servant class to Amaron. And yeah, it's
Almost, those were almost described as like genetic AI type beings, right? That kind of do the work so that they're not, so that their beings aren't injured. So it's robotic, essentially.
Yeah, like flesh robots, kind of like us.
Bag of bones. Yeah, interesting. What was the most surprising thing of your like time in Puerto Rico?
I think like just meeting the CBP agent, getting that full backstory. You know, everybody's seen the footage, but never knew, you know, who was the person that released it and what were the circumstances that they caught that footage, you know. Then the aftermath, you know, he talked about the security getting tightened up around that airport, and they weren't allowing DHS agents or CBP agents to interact with other departments of the airport. And apparently the FBI got involved, and there is apparently a standing order within the Department of Homeland Security right now, where no videos can be like moved around between computer, like just really tight security in terms of CBP information or DHS information. It can't get out or be shared within departments like it used to be.
So that was in response to him leaking it. They tightened security in response to that.
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
That's what he said. He said that, you know, at one point in the past, he was able to like walk right on these CBP planes and go hang out with his friend and stuff like that, who was the FLIR camera operator for this footage. And after that event and after it got leaked to the public, and I think it took a while for the CBP footage to really become popular, because
Right.
obviously it was leaked in 2013 when it happened, but you know, we're talking about it now in 2024, and it was only really covered in a big way in the past like 3 to 4 years. So I think the security has ramped up since 2013, and it's yeah.
Interesting. One thing I really love about your films is you're not sensationalist. You just give the facts. And I mean, why do you take that approach, basically? Because I mean, I think a lot of documentary makers can skew towards, you know, wanting to draw people in and be clickbaity, or, you know, make these outrageous claims that, you know, they ask like these dramatic questions and then they never really give you the answers just to kind of draw you in. But yours isn't like that. Yours is very fact-based, and it feels like you try to be very unbiased in what you're saying.
Try to be. In other films, I probably have been biased, but you know, this was like boots on the ground investigation. I've been doing that more and more. You know, if you saw the Tim Gallaudet doc I did before, again, you know, I'm flying in to see him, setting everything up. And I guess to me, this is partly a study of people, and it's partly a study of the phenomenon. I mean, the phenomenon is interesting, but the people are really interesting too. So I think you don't have to, provide extra speculation, and you don't have to like go too crazy with elaboration. Just let people talk about their truth. That's really interesting in itself. And I'm like super independent. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars funding my research and my journeys on these documentaries. So I try to do it on a budget and just keep it real.
Yeah. You're muted, Chris.
Dog, forgot about that. Tell us, where can we watch the film now? Because I know I saw it on Apple, right? Apple TV.
Yeah, it's on Apple TV, Vudu, maybe like Google Play. I don't know. My distributor really dropped the ball, and it's not up in a lot of places. Hopefully it will be up on Tubi for free in the future, like maybe a month or two. And I'll just give that link to everybody so they can watch it for free.
Oh, well, that's nice. But I encourage people to support him if you can. Go.
Yeah.
It's $10 if you want to buy it. I'm sure it's like $5 to rent it or something. But we need to support our filmmakers and those who are getting our stories out, these stories out, our stories, everybody's stories, humanity's stories.
And he's doing it in such an honest way, and you're doing it in such a research-based way. And these are the people we need to be supporting. We don't want Hollywood people coming in and ruining everything,
I hope they can make it better when they come at it. Yeah. When they make their big entrance. But so far Hollywood has been kind of on the edge. We're not over the superhero movies.
Right. Yeah. I think that we always want to rescue somebody to rescue us, or to rescue, to be the superhero. And I don't know if that's really the story all the time. I don't know if that's reality.
Yeah. I figure like we've kind of got superhero fatigue with all the Marvel, DC, and that universe. I feel like once the UFO sort of topic gets blown up, I think there's going to be so many Hollywood dramatizations of this topic. Yeah. There's so many experiencers out there. Trust me, there's going to be some Hollywood films coming in the future. I think that might be a new Hollywood wave,
I think so too.
Eventually.
And hopefully it will be a little bit different. Like, it's not just focused on, like you said, that kind of Marvel superhero, but it is more on, that's where my fascination lies, is with the experiencer and, the encounters that people have or believe they have, or whatever world we're living in. It's just, to me, where it's just so fascinating and compelling, and seeing some of the lore that gets passed down through generations of families, and it's just such an interesting, I don't know, it just fuels my curiosity like nothing else, and I never knew it would, so love it. What are you watching now? What are you paying attention to right now as you're kind of
well, today, Michael Schellenberger's, announcement, the big article about the UAP program, Ross Coulthart, it all kind of came at once, covering this. And it's the Immaculate Constellation. Immaculate. There you go. Sorry. So I've been watching a bit of that. I mean, the again, the really interesting thing about this topic is that every single week there's something new. You know, you could say that about politics maybe, and like, I mean, entertainment, celebrity crap. But if this phenomenon is real, you know, like as in there's a non-human intelligence that's interacting with our planet, and the powers that be, most likely the defense and intelligence communities around the world, have been keeping that a secret from the public and from Congress most of the time. Like, it's just the layer of the onion is being peeled back more and more in terms of the truth. And it's exciting and it's interesting. And yeah, I mean,
yeah, what a time to be alive.
Yeah. When there's lulls with new information that's legit coming out, that's when like the drama factory starts happening. That can be entertaining too, especially on Twitter. I mean, everybody has that dark.
That's what we just talked about before.
That heart of darkness. Deep down, we all like to see a little bit of, you know, a little bit of the battle going on, but at least men do. But it's a wild world, you know. So you can pick your days and you know, watch it all happen. It's so, sometimes
maybe it's just me, but I'm like, sometimes I'm just so overwhelmed with the fast
phenomenon.
Well, the drama, I try and stay out of the drama.
Totally.
But just the rapid information that's flowing in.
I've been called the disinformation agent and all kinds of crazy.
So have I. Yeah. I don't think you've made it on UFO Twitter unless you've been called a disinformation agent or
I'm CIA, just so you know.
Oh, I've been CIA too. I've been CIA. FBI, I've been CIA. Yeah. I've been a Russian honeypot. So
yeah.
I'm like, no.
I've come into spaces and I think somebody asked me if I was CIA, and like Rick Doty was in this space, and I was like, yeah, because it's easy to become a CIA agent when you're Canadian.
That's awesome.
No, your accent, it's just a cover. You know, it's all just a cover.
Oh my gosh.
That's what they would say.
Crazy.
I'm a CSIS. I'm a Mountie.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That's funny. Yeah, but it is, the information flowing in can sometimes, at least of late, can come in really fast and furious, and it's hard to keep up with. And I think that's where it's hard to kind of like sort out like who's putting out the information, and you know, where is it coming from? Is it trustworthy?
I have a quick question. Do you know of any, like, do you have any insider sources that say that hearings are on the way?
Yeah, I mean,
public, right?
Yeah, I think that the one that's happening is going to be after the election, in November.
Okay,
and that's gonna have Tim Gallaudet.
Okay,
I want to go. I'm gonna try and go. I'm praying that all my
line up,
all my tests clear up, and I'm gonna
like Black Friday.
Travel partner.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I'll fly you out.
Will you go? Will you go, Darcy?
I've talked about it with Nick Gold, who, you know, he's actually out in that area in Washington, D.C., and he's doing some really good work with, you know, the, what is it called? Declassify UAP project.
He's a good friend.
And Lester Nair and all those guys are just like Keith Taylor, like they're doing amazing stuff. Pushing this topic forward in a very serious and you know, professional way in the Capitol Hill area. And you know, what's his name? The dude that just kind of like bombs people on Capitol Hill and asks them like UAP questions. Matt
Laszlo. Is that his
name?
Yeah,
Matt Laszlo. Yeah. Like I love that whole group of guys. Yeah. And I've been saying to Nick, like, you know, next time there is confirmed a hearing. I want to fly in. I'll bring cameras. Like, I'm going to get in line. I want to interview people in line and blah, blah, blah.
Let's
And like
go.
kind of document that whole, how just the vibe.
Yes.
Yeah, the vibe.
It was
is pretty
amazing.
cool.
I went to the first one, and oh my gosh, it was just such an incredible experience. And I was like 2 people away from getting in the room. I stayed in line since 5 a.m. and I was 2 people away from getting in the room.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it true that, and this is not a slight in any way, but I heard that like at the very last minute, like Jeremy Corbell and his entourage just like cut right to the front of the line and walked right in.
Oh yeah. Well, he was kind of like already, I have video of that. Like I have him and his whole entourage walking down and yeah, they go in. But what really, and I don't want like, dude, I don't want to like slight anyone either, because he's got like the #1 podcast in the world right now, Sean, whatever his name
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that took my seat, man.
Yeah.
He went right in front of me, him and somebody else, and they got in line. Yes, I was in line since 5 a.m, and a couple podcasts.
I watched his interview on Joe Rogan, and when Joe asked him what UFOs were, he said it's the afterlife. I was like,
interesting.
What?
Just the afterlife, huh?
I sent him, I was talking to him on Twitter. I sent him this doc, and he's yet to watch it. But maybe when he watches it, he won't think it's the afterlife. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Some people's minds are made up.
Yeah, that's true.
And everything else is like cognitive dissonance. It's like ping pong ideas just like bouncing off their head. They're like, I'm good.
Well, it's such a hard topic. Like, I feel like, as I think of my like 3-year journey, which it honestly feels way longer than that, but like, year 1, you have a completely different idea of what a UFO is. You're talking about literally nuts and bolts, a disc in the sky that might be technology. And then, very quickly you're just talking about anomalies and phenomenon and, plasma and
gateways and
paranormal gate portals. And, your whole perspective on reality changes very quickly when you look at this topic. I think
high strangeness. I think there is like, that whole poltergeist activity and all that stuff is pretty well recorded. And like, I don't disagree with that. My mind is like, is there something there that we just can't comprehend yet scientifically or psychologically, So we kind of like constantly attach old mythos and stuff to the things to understand it, and like, look at FLIR camera technology, right? We're not supposed to see these things with our naked eye, but they're being picked up with a light spectrum that our eye cannot see. And I think, there's possibly a reality in the future where we actually have full or an expanded perception of the universe around us, like right here on the planet and maybe beyond. Like what if our like ocular what if our eyes get upgraded and we start to see those color or those radio wave bandwidths and stuff that we can't perceive normally?
Right.
What if there's just stuff happening all around us? What if there's some dude right over my shoulder right now?
Exactly. No, there is.
He's totally like teabagging me or something, but you can't even see him because he's just in this reality that's kind of separated from us. I'm saying there's probably room to understand more about our universe if we change somehow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's totally, Sorry, my dog is really going crazy in there. But it's really what I've been saying the whole time. It's just this idea of the filters that we have, because if their filters were removed, we probably would go insane. And seeing things the way other things see things, even seeing things the way animals see things, or perceive colors, or perceive how the blood flows through our body. There's just so much. And we look at the tools that we've garnered, whether it's a telescope or a microscope, and like what we see now, and how we used to attribute, illness and everything to demons or the evil spirits or whatever. And now we know, there's literal beings, there's bacteria, there's viruses, there's these things. And just expanding our understanding, I think, of the nature of reality is going to be, to me, that's why it's so fascinating. And I think it helps us expand that understanding, and it helps us explore it. And my favorite description of that is, somebody described to me like the way we have our computers, right? I have my beautiful MacBook sitting here in front of me. I love what I'm looking at. It's colorful. It's cute. I know what to click on. Everything is easy for me to see. But if I had to look at the hardware behind it in order to function, and I would not be interested, and I would just throw it away and just like do away with it. It would not be something I want to, deal with. So maybe we're living in a world where our GUI, is attractive to us. A beautiful nature. It makes us do the things that we're supposed to want to do, to eat, to survive, to procreate. But if we really see it as it is, it could change things, and it may not necessarily be bad. We might learn something new, like you said, about
totally,
the nature of reality. So I like that. I like that theory. Well, Ariel, do you have anything else you want to ask, or you want to wrap up with our last favorite question that we try and ask that we always forget?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. I have to get going in a minute, and I know you both probably have early mornings. So yeah, our final question that we ask all our guests is, what do you think the elephant in the room is when it comes to ufology?
I think the elephant in the room is that our people that are protecting our country probably have gone crazy with power and are keeping truths about our reality from us that keep us stupid.
Yeah. I think that is the elephant in the room.
Doesn't get any more concise than that.
Yeah,
concise and to the point. I love it.
That was my best attempt.
Well, thank you guys so much. I'm so happy to be back. I'm so glad we have at least a small audience for sure. We have about 42 people out there watching us on Twitter, and I haven't even looked at the YouTube channel. And it looks like we've got a new follower, and they're going to watch the film. So I think we've accomplished our goal tonight. Makes me happy, and it's a great way to come back and spend time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Tell Andy I said hello. And again, I'll reach out to him. I know I spelled his name wrong. Again, I got to work on my stuff, but I appreciate you guys. And I think Ariel and I are coming back in a week or so. I think we have a deep dive. We're going to bring a couple of guys on to record a deep dive, right, Ariel?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I need to check on that.
Well, either way, we're going to check on that. Coordinated. All right, guys. We love you.
See you guys later. It's nice to meet you, Darcy.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.